Dash, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Miss Tanya Kennedy, and we're sitting with Miss Catherine, and she's gonna tell us about life after loss.
The way this is going to work is you are going to get 20, 30 minutes to just tell your story. And we're going to sit and listen. And then when you're done, Sharika is going to have some questions for you. And if we have any pressing questions while you're talking, we may interject a little bit. For the most part, we just want you to tell your story.
Okay. Yeah, please feel free to interject. No worries there. So I kind of have two
Okay.
because I've lost my stepdad first and then I've lost my dad just recently. But so originally, yeah. So 2 days after my 16th birthday, we found out that my stepfather had colon cancer, and they told us that he would have no more than probably 3 months during that time. And my mom is a nurse, so luckily she was able to take some time off work during that time and be there for him. But leading up to that point, my mom and him had only been married for 4 years, and a lot had happened. My parents had been divorced since I was one, and they argued and fought the whole time. And he actually is the reason that I was able to finally go back and live with my mom. She had lost custody to me at some point. I don't really understand or know why. But my stepdad went and talked to my dad, and he got my dad to agree to have me go live with them. And so we moved to Kansas City shortly after that, and that's where we found out that he had colon cancer a couple of years later. But so on December 7th, we found out that he had colon cancer, and he passed away December 23rd, just a couple weeks later. So it was very, very quick. And I had lost my grandmother once before, but I wasn't really close to her. And I wasn't terribly close to my stepdad, but I could tell that he clearly cared about me and for me. So he had asked at one point if he could adopt me, and I told him no. And after he passed away, my mom kind of didn't really know what to do with herself. Like I said, it was quick, and they'd only been married for 4 years, but he was a very passionate man, and he was very passionate about enjoying his family and being with family. And so whenever he passed away, I kind of dealt with a lot of guilt for kind of not letting him in at the time. I mean, I was a teenager, so I know everybody understands, obviously, including him, because he's very understanding. But I still felt like I had missed out on so much with him that I didn't really have to miss out on. So that's my first one that I definitely learned from that. And so I'm very adamant now about, anybody could go at any point in time, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you're doing. Car wreck, things happen. And so I don't take time with anybody for granted anymore, essentially. And then with my dad, we had not really ever been close. But I found out later on that was apparently just how my dad was. I found out my husband got deployed in March of 2019, and June I figured out that my dad was kind of sick, and I hadn't seen him in a while, so I didn't really know how sick, because we lived in Maryland and he lived in Texas, in Coleman, Texas at the time. But right before I came down, he started kind of slowly telling me things in May. And so I had been planning to come down in the summer anyway, and I think that's actually why he started telling me these things, because he knew he couldn't hide it anymore. And so in June, he actually told me that they had wanted to do a biopsy a year ago, something, he didn't know what. And I was so upset. And so, because I was like, Dad, if they need to do a biopsy on something, that's because they want to check if it's cancerous. There's something inside of your lungs. And so I came down in July, and he had told me that he lost weight, but I didn't know how. So he I got down there and he was just skin and bone. He was not a normally like obese or overweight person anyway. He was normally a skinny person, but he was just skin and bone. And he even told me he didn't realize how much weight he had lost until, so when I went down, we stayed in a hotel for a few days, in Fredericksburg, and he took a bath. I went to the store and he had taken a bath and gotten out of the shower, and there was a full-length mirror. And that's when he realized how much weight he had lost, because he could see his back and his ribs everywhere. And it was just awful. And so, I brought him home to Maryland with us, so that I could help take care of him, because I knew that, I knew he was deathly sick, and there wasn't anything we could really do about it. So I brought him home in order to try to get him some treatment. But whenever we got here, we were in the process of moving, because we lived in a 3-story townhouse, and the townhouse that we lived in did not have a main bath with a shower in it, nor did it have technically a bedroom. So we moved to a different house so that he could have a main bathroom and a main bedroom on the same floor, so he didn't have to deal with any stairs. But before we could even get moved, he had one of those oxygen for your finger that you can check. He had bought one, and his oxygen had been kind of steady between like 92 and 99 or so, but it dropped to like 62 all of a sudden one day. He was having a lot more trouble breathing, and so we took him to the hospital, and they admitted him to the hospital. He was in the hospital for about a week before they finally were able to do, they said that his lung had collapsed, and that's why he was suddenly having much more trouble breathing, and that he basically only had 50% lung function to begin with, and now he had less. So they had to keep him on oxygen all the time. They had to keep him on a lot of oxygen all the time. And whenever they went in to do the surgery and did the biopsy and everything, they had to put a, what do they call that tube down your throat? You ladies know?
A trachea. They had to trach him.
Yeah. So they had to do that, and they had to leave that in for like 5 days before they could even take it out, because when they first pulled him out of surgery, he wasn't stabilizing. He was just kept going up and down and up and down and up and down. And so they kept that in for 4 days, and he was disoriented and confused and angry. And finally he said that he just wanted to go home and didn't want to seek treatment anymore. And so he came home with us in August and passed away October 23rd with us. But he didn't really, so I found out afterwards that he was, I knew that he had always been kind of a private person, but I found out afterwards that I wasn't really close to him, because that's just how he was. He wasn't actually close to anybody. I knew that he kind of had some trouble getting along with people, but I guess I hadn't realized that, like, he has an older sister and a younger brother, and I didn't realize that he wasn't very close to them either. He just didn't talk a lot, or anything. And so, after he passed, I actually, I was going through some depression and things like that. Of course, the holidays followed right after. And we were busy and going. And I had kind of decided, or kind of tried to distract myself with like work and just keep going and keep doing things. But in about January, I realized that I was not in a good place anymore. And so, but one of the things that I realized from him is that he didn't really, even when he was here at our house and he could finally talk again and whatnot, he just kept saying how he was just a regular guy and how much he had, and he was so grateful for how much he had. And, I've got this room and I've got you, and I could see the sunrise every morning, and, And I just, I think he didn't think very much of himself. And he was like, I've never done much with my life, and And so it kind of made me realize I don't ever want to have to say that. And I was working in a job at the time that I didn't love and I wasn't happy at any longer. And so I quit my job to start a podcast with no income. Luckily, my husband is able to, provide for us, so it's okay. We my kids are fed and clothed, but any little income helps. But so I don't want to waste a day for myself or anyone else for that matter. So, do you ladies have any questions?
I do, because that hits close to home. One, because I lost my husband. It'll be a year this coming March. Two, because I complain every day that this is a full-time job that I have, plus I have a full-time job and 3 kids that I'm trying to maintain. And so that's a faith move that I am contemplating. Probably by the end of the school year, I will be moving in that same, because I work for a school district, I will more than likely be moving in that same direction. Because as much as I love, hello beautiful, as much as I love school and teaching kids, I am not, because of the nature of the school and the nature of how it works, I am not happy. So I understand exactly what you're saying. It's like life is too short. People are dying. You don't want it to be that the only thing that somebody has to say about you is that you went to work, you came home, and you had nothing else to show for it. You didn't affect anybody's life.
Yep.
Because you had said earlier something about what are we doing or why do we do this? And that the whole point of this is the purpose of saying there are people that need to have their stories heard. And for me, this is ministry, because people get healed from this. And so when you said that hits very close to home. Like, that's really real to me. Sharika?
Well, my experience with her is, like she was saying, about her daddy was so private, and that was my issue with my family. We found out all sorts of things, like what all the things were going on in our family. We found out after passing of so many family members that, okay, this was happening because this was going on. This person was private. And my thing is always, now that I like open door policy with my kids, I feel that it's okay to let people in, because you have people running around in doubt about how you feel about them, how much you love them, or really their worth sometimes. Because sometimes when your parents are not affectionate or don't seem to love you, you seem to feel that there's something wrong with you, and you start building up a self-conscious thing about yourself, when it could be this person loves you to death. They just have a bad way of showing it from things that might have happened to them or whatever, and there's really nothing wrong with you. But we got so many kids that's running around here lost because they're feeling that they're or that nobody cares about them, when their parents are just never taught to give genuine love or how to show affection and stuff like that. So I think that's a big problem in the community, that kids are feeling unloved.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in my podcast, I talk to people about mistakes that they've made and lessons that they've learned. And every single person that I have spoken to, goes to college and gets a job and starts a family and meets all these milestones, and then they kind of chill and realize that they've done all the things that they were told to do now, and now they're just supposed to work for the next 40 years. And so and nobody wants to do that. Nobody just wants that to be the end of their life, And so, and I know that my dad, that was, I think that's kind of how he lived his life. His parents were very strict and very posh during the time, and were brought up to just keep appearances up no matter what happens, basically. And that's kind of how he was raised too. He was a little bit more lax with me than my brother, but apparently that's because I was a girl. So.
Okay, we're going to get into the question and answer portion of the show. And the first question is, what or who would you say inspired you to keep going when you was at your lowest point dealing with this loss?
Well, actually, this has kind of really been a time of my reflection because I've really delved into um, self-help books, and finding my own spirituality, and kind of really figuring out who I am and why I exist, and things like that. So it's kind of something, I guess you would say, my dad in a way, because it's kind of something that I realized, and probably may not have realized unless he had passed, because I just realized that I needed to do some introspection and learn what I want to do and why, and maybe just do things because of the why and not because of any other reason, because I've been told or because I've been raised or because of money or anything. I just need to worry about the why and hope that everything else works out.
I see you were surprised when you said that it was your dad that inspired you. In most of our cases that we've been doing, we learned that it's the passing of someone that makes a person feel that they're greater than they realize that they want to live more or do more because of the passing. It's more like when someone passed, you want to do in spite of. So we hear that answer all the time, and I was shocked that you were surprised, but we get that answer all the time. It's always the person that passed that is most inspiration to a person.
Yeah, I bet. I hadn't
Question
really
two.
thought about it.
Question two. Was there anyone who was just always there to listen, always had the right things to say? And would you like to take this time to thank them?
My mom. Um, so it was it was a really weird situation when my dad got sick, because I told you my mom and my dad have been divorced since I was like 1 year old, and they had a very tumultuous relationship. And I would say that they pretty much hated each other my whole life. And they were very angry at each other all of the time. And I never really ever saw them. They tried to get back together for a brief period of time, like a couple of months or something when I was little, but I never ever saw them genuinely just like kind and caring for each other. But my mom is a nurse. And luckily, at that time, she was a traveling nurse. And she just so happened last second, June or July, when I found out he was sick, to get a contract here in the DC Baltimore area where I live right now. And when I found out that he was sick and that I would have to move him up here, she was here. If she wasn't working, she was here every day helping. He had a tube in his chest that we had to change the dressing on every day, and she was here helping me do that. She was helping me with the medical jargon, and she was here whenever he passed too. So she definitely, if I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't been here. So I'm very grateful to her that she was able to be here and stayed with us the whole time and helped us. My husband is so grateful. He doesn't do well with regular people emotions anyway. So he, is super grateful that my mom could be here and help me through it and help my dad. And even in the end, my dad was super grateful that she was here and just acting like he cared so much for her. And it was really weird and awkward to see during the time, but it's kind of nice. So, thanks, Mom.
Was there any support groups? Was there any support groups that helped you?
I am not a support group type person. I tried one in high school when my stepdad passed away, and it didn't really work out. I've tried, when I was growing up and going through the court system because of all of the different custody battles and whatnot. I have talked to therapists before, and some things happen that I have a hard time trusting therapists, really, I guess. But the hospice group, that when they discharged my dad from the hospital, and and put him on hospice, they called me afterwards and offered a group therapy, basically, session for grieving family members that I thought was great that they offered that. I just am not capable, I guess, of taking advantage of it.
But you know what? The amazing thing about that, because this makes you perfect for my next question. If you had to design a support group, knowing that you had issues with the support group that you were dealing with before, so if you had to design a support group, how would you design it?
Well, personally, I would do one online for starters. And I would probably do maybe like a Facebook support group or something like that, where people can kind of come in, hop in and hop out as they please. Because, you know, grief strikes everybody totally differently. You know, I had different feelings and different emotions going on with my stepdad even than I did with my dad. And, you know, I had a lot of guilt to deal with my stepdad, and I don't feel like I have a lot of guilt to deal with my dad. So, I mean, and you know, he passed away in October, and I really didn't deal with it until just in January. So, I mean, the support groups are always there and you can always go there, but sometimes you just need like one person, or you're a private person, or you were raised a certain way and you're not really supposed to show emotions and things like that. So I think that kind of the anonymity that the online world can give us might actually be useful in that way.
And I'm quite sure that would be amazing, because you do have people that's scared to open up. And if you hide my identity or giving me the chance to tell you who I am when I'm ready, I might be more willing to talk or say things that I wouldn't say, because I got to worry about my image, or I got to worry about someone judging me or something like that. So I definitely do agree with that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how would you say that this loss contribute to your growth now?
My growth now? I
Yes.
don't want to take anything for granted, and I don't want to be as private as a person as he was. I definitely want to be more of an open communicator with my kids and tell them all about my life if they want to hear about it. You know, even I remember when I would even try to ask him questions and things, he just would give me like one-word answers and really not answer the question a whole lot. So it was even hard to try to drag things out of him. So that's not something I want for my relationship with my kids, or wish for anybody really, because I mean, like you were saying earlier, that can sometimes unintentionally cause some self-worth issues. So
Okay. The seventh question is, would you be willing to mentor someone? And if so, how would they connect with you?
would I be willing to do what?
Mentor someone who's going through the same thing? And if so, how would they connect with you?
Sure, absolutely. If you guys want to email me, they can email me through theteachablesoul@gmail.com, actually. If anybody wants or needs somebody to talk to about loss of their father or stepfather. I haven't lost my mom, fortunately, so I can't really help you in that way. But I'd love to talk to anybody else who's lost a stepfather that they were close to, or had any guilt issues about, or a father.
Okay. Our last and final question. If there's anything you would leave us with, any words or quotes that help you find peace, what would it be?
Live your life to the best of your abilities. Don't have any regrets if you can avoid it, but if you can't, that's okay too.
You have been super amazing, and that concludes our question and answer portion. Miss Tanya, do you have anything that you would like to ask or talk to our guests about?
It's so funny how God orchestrates these interviews, because I am, every single time that we interview someone, every single time that we do one of these, the guest usually is speaking to a part of my heart. Oh my goodness, it's little man. He's not trying. Do you see him? But every single time, every guest, there's a portion of my heart that is touched because I literally just lost a very close friend yesterday morning, and have had issues dealing with grief, and am seeking to become, and am going to become before this year is out, a grief counselor. So it hits home to think about all of knowing that grief is such a big part of grief is such a big part of who we are, and we usually don't do it correctly. We usually don't do it right, and no one can tell you how to grieve. People can give you suggestions on how to feel. This is the proper way to grieve. This is the proper way to get your feelings out. But nobody, and when I say nobody, I mean nobody, can tell you how to feel. If you if you feel the wrong way, if how you feel is all completely wrong, it doesn't matter. It's how you feel, and that's part of the process and part of letting people know it's okay if you feel jacked up today. It's okay to feel jacked up today. If you don't feel like talking today, it's okay not to feel like today. If you feel like today, that's okay too. You have to be able to have room to grieve and get that all the way out. Because when I was going through what I was going through, I did not grieve correctly and ended up being angry and walking around being angry for several months until, you know what, hey, I'm angry. Let me fix it. Little man, this is not your interview. Okay? We're interviewing KATHRYN. You're not supposed to be talking.
But the sad thing about it, we got several things that there's no handbook for, and or blueprint. And one of them is parenting. The second one is grief. And those are things that we gonna deal with day to day. We gonna make mistakes, but we just gotta do our best at them. I mean, because you literally get no handbook, no blueprint on how we supposed to do this thing. And sometimes we gonna make mistakes, but we just gotta realize some of those things that we're going through are most important points in our life.
Yeah. And you're exactly, I mean, that's what happened to me in January when I realized that I was not dealing with it properly. Was everybody was like, why are you so angry all the time? And I hadn't really paid attention and wasn't realizing that I was angry, but I was like, okay, you guys are right. I'm like snapping quicker than I normally would. And I don't want to be an angry person. So clearly I need to deal with some stuff.
And that's the thing. You're holding it in. Because I don't like for me, I don't like to be unhappy. I don't like to cry. I don't like to be sad around other people. I don't want anybody else to be sad. And so for me, I was fighting grieving. I told the grief counselor when they called, I don't want to grieve. I don't want to be sad. I don't like this. Pineapples. Don't want to do it. Sorry. Tapping out, don't want to play, and ended up having to do it anyway because it was eating me up on the inside. I was walking around, Captain ticked off, and everybody's like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Well, what's wrong? Nothing. And come to find out, I'm upset. I'm angry at him. I'm angry at me. Me and God, I wasn't angry at God, but I was trying to get him to answer these questions that I had. I mean, and so it's like, all of it. And when you finally realize, you know what, let me just go through these process, because there's 5 stages of grief. There's denial, there's bargaining, there's depression, there's anger, and there's acceptance. And in order to get to acceptance, you got to go through the mother 4, and all 4 of those suck. But acceptance is where you're trying to get to. And in order to get through, you're bargaining like, no, God, not me, no. Then you're depressed, like, woe is me. Then you're mad, like, why me? And then you know what I mean? You got to go through all of those stages to get to acceptance, which is where you're like, okay, this is just what it is. And I don't like it, but this is what it is. But to get there, you got to go through all this other mess.
Yep.
And it's a hard process.
It's so hard. Yeah. And I think a lot of us are kind of brought up that way. Like we don't or feel that way, not just brought up that way. Like, nobody likes to cry. Nobody wants to be angry all the time, or nobody wants to just not accept that life is the way that life is. Everybody wants to be this peaceful, happy person all the time, and unfortunately that's just not how life works. So, but it's hard to accept.
I mean, I found myself like, yeah, even before this broadcast, because I told you I lost a dear friend yesterday morning, and I had not looked at Facebook because I didn't want to. And one of my other friends was like, "Well, I don't remember him. Show me who he is." And I clicked on Facebook, and I mean, I'm talking 45 minutes before we got to this point, I'm bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, okay, you gotta go do what you gotta do. Come. You know, and I'm trying to get myself together because I gotta come on here.
Yeah.
And be the credible witness. But the reality of it is that it hurts. I know when I leave here, I'm going to church tonight, and the whole church is going to be toe up. Everybody's going to be crying and weeping, and because he was an important part of our lives. And so we all have to grieve, and we all have to grieve this loss. And and life and death are part of life. Like, we're born, we live, we get old, we die. That's how this works. But that doesn't make it any easier. That doesn't make it feel any better. And life after loss, because Sharika lost her mom, I've lost several people, and so has she, but I've lost several people. And with you, it's like somebody has to come back after the funeral, after the casket is gone, after that last food from after the funeral, that everybody bringing you them nasty trays full of food that they probably cooked, Grandma Effa brought over, and y'all like, nobody touched that. I don't know what it is. And after all those people are gone, after the cards are gone, after the money that everybody gives you is spent, and you're sitting by yourself, what now? And that's the point of life after loss. What now? What happens now? And at some point, we're probably going to start a life after loss support group online because it's a thing, and there has to be something.
And that's the whole mission. The whole mission is, this is that family that been there. We that family that knows how it feel. We have lost people very close to us, because I've lost my mom and she has equally lost her mom. So we know the feeling of loss firsthand. We lost a very important part of us, because no matter how good or how bad your relationship is with your parent, it's still the fact that that's your parent. That's something you can't replace. You can get you can have other everything, but you don't get a new mom or dad. You just don't replace. You can't replace them no kind of way. So, with us, that's our common denominator, that we both been there. So we really want to bring a bridge where we can help people who going through these same types of loss, because at our point, we helped each other heal. Building this platform, we was healing each other, because we really didn't realize that we were still grieving in the process of building it. And I kind of think that was part of the reason that we got together, because we actually helped each other to heal. So we definitely want to put that in place for other people, because I walked around almost 16 years not knowing that I was still not finished grieving, and I'm still running around trying to please my mom. And I have done some amazing things, but I just was feeling that none of it was enough.
Oh, I know. Well, and so, I mean, I've never lost my mom, but like, even now, I want to like give her all the things and like do all the things and, show her how much I appreciate who she is and her being my mom and everything. And I still want to like do all the things to, help her, please her, do whatever. And so I think that that's something, that we can all, it still just never feels like enough. Even if I gave her a whole house, it would never feel like enough.
Right. But for you, because you lost your dad and your stepdad in a short period of time, right? So you lost both your dads. And so it makes you look at your mom like, wait, okay, mom, let me just do everything right now, because I just lost both of them. So let me hurry up and do this stuff to make sure I do everything, because I still have you. So then it brings it real, because you're like, wait, oh my God, okay, I'm not paying attention. Right, let me focus on you. So then you get the opportunity to build whatever was broken, fix, whatever, you know what I mean? You get the opportunity to do that so that when it comes time down the road, you don't have anything that wasn't said. You don't have any, and a lot of times, because like for me with my mom, I had stuff that wasn't said. And even with my husband, I had stuff that didn't get said. The irony of it is, when we lost his mom, I had said everything there was to say. Me and her were good. Yeah. Me and her were Gucci. But when I lost my mama 6 days later, I had not said Nathan, nothing. Yeah. Yeah, we lost our moms within the same. His mom died December 28th. My mom was like January something of the following year. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we had just had the funeral when I found out about my mom, and I was like, I'm a little crazy for real. And so with his mom, everything was at peace, and with my mom, nothing was. So it was like, I'm okay over here, but I'm jacked up over here. And like with losing my husband, I can get another husband. Hello, I can get remarried, but you cannot replace your mother.
Right.
And it sounds funny to say, but it's the truth. You will never get another mom. Like whoever mom is, you never get another one of those, ever. Even if they suck, you never get another one.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's a real thing.
And that's been your common thing, because like I told you, we didn't find out that, oh, your mama was this way with you because she was molested. She was overprotected with you. It's not that she didn't want you to do nothing, or she was just being mean, or she was always feeling like she had to be on her guard because she was molested. So a lot of stuff that I was holding, like why you treated me like that, why we went through the stuff like that, we never got the chance to sit down and talk about the things that happened. So I actually found a newfound appreciation for everything that she was doing and I was going through, but she wasn't here for me to even tell her.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. My mom and I have always had a really open relationship, and she's told me every single thing, like since the time I was 8 years old, for some reason, she's told me every single thing that she's ever been through. So I think that actually might be why I've had a lot of understanding, because she can be pretty crazy and she'll tell you that herself. So it's okay for me to say that. But I understand that she does these things because of all the things that she's been through. You know, her husband tried to kill her, and like there were other things that happened to her when she was a kid. Her dad was super abusive. So I come from a place of understanding when she does crazy things. I'm like, well, all right. And I even told her, I said, you know, you need to deal with these things in order to fix them. And she's like, I can't bring myself to deal with them, honestly. And I'm like, well, all right, at least you're honest about it. And you know that there's things wrong that you should probably fix. You just can't. That's fine. You know?
Have you talked to her about doing your podcast?
Oh yeah, she knows all about it.
Because maybe if she tells the story, it'll make it better for her. Because telling the story makes it better. I know every time I talk about anything, it makes it better for me.
Oh, I see. About having her on my podcast? Well,
yes.
I haven't. I'm afraid that if I do that, honestly, that we'll both get kind of emotional. Because, you know, with both her and my sister, because I feel so close to them, which, I mean, you know, can be great for like listens or whatever, I guess, but it's very personal, and like some of the things that she would talk about have to do with my life too, and so maybe I've thought about it. I just haven't approached her about it because I don't know what she would feel comfortable talking about on there, and I don't know what I would feel comfortable her sharing during the conversation either.
Okay.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. And some of it is pretty messed up, and it's not. So my podcast kind of focuses on like people who have failed at something, sort of, and a lot of the things that happened to her aren't. I mean, they're of course choices that she made, you know, like ignoring red flags or something like that, but they're not. They're very extreme. They're very extreme. But
well, I mean, you should go back through our podcast and listen. Sharika's cousin has an episode that's up and out that when I say, baby, and my story drops on this month on Valentine's Day. So, and my story is pretty extreme. And maybe she can go back and you can let her listen to some of the stories that we've put out to see some of the people that have had some extreme stories. And maybe just listening to other people's stories that are really extreme will help her. And she has an open invitation to come on our show anytime she wants to, because this is a healing platform. That's the point of it. And if she ever wanted to tell her story, she can feel free, because this is a no judgment zone. We're not judging you for your story, because your story, just because you think it's bad, somebody else's story is worse, number one. And number two, that person that can't talk needs to hear you talk. So, yeah.
That's valid.
And I can't judge nobody because I've been through way too much to even be. I can't even imagine me looking at somebody turning up my nose or feeling that somebody is less than, because I've been through way too much for that. So,
Yeah, judgment is a big thing in the world.
yeah, but that's
And I
something I
appreciate
can't be a part of.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
And that's what I say all the time. My motto now is, I can't judge you, God saved me. How can I judge you when he saved me? I got rescued. So how do I judge your struggle when I had my own struggle? I can't. The only thing I can do is tell you the right way to go, pray for you, and listen when you're talking. But I cannot judge you because God saved me. So I can't judge you when I got rescued from whatever I was going through. And that's what people fail to understand. They're expecting judgment, and they're getting it a lot of times. But the reality of it is, we don't have room for that. He saved us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you ladies creating this platform for people to come on with their stories and tell about it and talk about it, because I think you're right. I mean, I think talking about it is food for the soul.
Yes.
It's therapeutic. It is definitely therapeutic. We are so glad, Kat, that you were able to come on and share your story with us. We are excited that it is going to be, we're going to let you know when you're going to be live and in color. We're just happy that you were able to share your story. And again, if your mom ever decides she wants to share her story, please, feel free to put her in touch with us and let her know that yes, it will be heard by a whole bunch of people, but there's somebody out there that needs to hear it, and she might get free from telling it. And if you, her, and your sister wanted to come on together so that you had each other, that's something to say too. Like, we have each other, and here, hold this tissue, here, wipe your face. So we're going to be team share, and we're going to share the story and support each other, because again, it's healing. Trust me when I say it is definitely a healing process.
Yeah. And then our show will be not your show, so that you won't have your set of listeners, so you can choose what you have your listeners here. So that will be different. It won't be your show where you worry about your listeners here, or something different. So it would put it in a different atmosphere.
Right, perspective for sure. And I want to say, Tanya, to you too, congrats on your grief counseling. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm proud that you're gonna do something that you're excited for too. It's scary to quit a whole job that you've relied on and been through and things like that. I know. So it's really exciting. I'm really excited for you though.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to start class and finish the certificate and get that under my belt. And the goal is to be a full-time counselor by the summer. That's the goal. Because God didn't put this, I didn't go through this, survive it, live after the loss of all of it, get tested, and not do anything with it. I did it. I went through all of this to get what I'm supposed to get out of it.
Yes.
And so, and getting out of it and giving back, because otherwise it was for nothing.
Yeah.
If I don't do anything with it, it's for nothing. And that's if your mom hears nothing else, if she hears nothing else, you go through what you go through and you're asking God, why did I go through this? And if it's for no other reason than the fact that what I went through wasn't about me, it was to help somebody else. And if she can remember that point, this isn't about me, this is to help somebody else. And if by me getting free, they get free, it'll make her feel better to get free by helping somebody else. And it's not even about our platform. She could go anywhere and tell the story. She can record the story live by herself in front of, she can record the story and broadcast it later. She can record the story and put it in a box and say, when I'm gone, tell this story. But she needs to get that off of her. Write a book, do something, get it off of your chest so that you're not carrying around an anvil on your chest.
Right.
Because that it hurts when you hold it. Like I'm in the beginning of writing my book, and it's not easy. But if I don't get all of this off of me, it's going to kill me. And I'm not trying to die prematurely because I was walking around with an anvil block on my chest. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Right. No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'll let her know for sure. You guys this would be a great platform to do it, though.
Well, thank you so much, Kat, for joining us today. You have been a part of Lyfe After Loss family. Please give us all of your social media, the hookups for your podcast, wherever we can find you. Once this is edited and out there, all of your information will go out there because this is not just about us. This is about sharing and networking. So whatever we can do to help you get your message out there, we will gladly do that because everybody needs to get heard. And our goal is to make sure that you are able to get heard as well. So once this is done and you get it, you can A, share it with whoever you want to, and B, we will share all of your social media. If you have a book that you've written, anything that you've done, we're going to post on our social media as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, you guys can search me up at any social media platform as The Teachable Soul. And like I said, anybody is welcome to email me as well at theteachablesoul@gmail.com. And I should have you guys both on too. That would be cool if we could have you both on at the same time.
You sure will.
Awesome. Definitely. Anytime, let us know. Let us know. We will definitely come on. You have been amazing as well, darling, and it was so good to see your beautiful face and to be able to talk to you. This has been Lyfe After Loss, and we are saying good evening.